Hey everyone, this is Christian Karasevich, and you are watching tonight's episode of Social Chatter. And just a quick rundown on what the show is. Basically, if you're new, basically what we're doing is we bring you the latest social media news and tools that we've discovered over the past week. And in addition to that, we try to have a business slant with everything. We try to talk about, the news, but we try to relate it to business, helping you use it in your business, how you can use it to grow your business, how to generate revenue, and so forth. So I'm just getting set up here, but just hang with me for a couple of minutes here, and we will get the show rolling. So as I mentioned, my name is Christian Karasevich. I'm all set up. We're basically broadcasting over on Facebook.com/social chefs. Can you hear me, Nick, by the way?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. So we're basically broadcasting over here on Huzza. So at huzza.io/social chefs. And then we're also over on Facebook at facebook.com/social chefs as well. And that's actually running now. And Nick's going to be, I think, monitoring the Facebook page, and I'm going to be monitoring the conversation here in Huzza. So Nick, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good, actually.
Good. Ready for the holiday?
I am, yeah. This short week has kind of thrown me off a little bit.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, I got a lot of stuff to prep. I got an email to send out. I have articles to read. I have, stuff to start writing up.
And we haven't had a full week of news either. So, which it's Tuesdays usually a slow day for just about everything. So we haven't had at least a full half week of news, I guess. So it's only been 5 days since our last broadcast. So, but I think we've got a couple of good items here, and then.
Yeah, I definitely think we do, right?
Yeah.
We have one big, fantastic piece of news that we'll talk about here in a few minutes. But I was really surprised that, if you kind of look at it, we probably would not have anything on Wednesday and Thursday just because it's, a holiday here.
Right.
Friday is pretty much going to be dead probably. People are going to be out shopping or sleeping probably, or, catching up on email, I guess.
Yeah.
Hopefully spend time with family and whatnot. So.
Yeah, good. Well, let's do it. We are streaming over on Facebook. I'm watching that feed, and it seems to be smooth right now.
So let's jump into the topic. So I'm going to save the big one till last.
Okay.
Talk about. But let's start off with the Facebook Messenger one, the Facebook Messenger bots analytics tool. That is, let me actually pull that one up real quick. So basically, and this is good, Facebook basically come out with a free Messenger bot analytics tool that's going to help cross-reference Messenger interactions with Facebook user data. And it says it's going to, be able to tie that into mobile app and web analytics. This is pretty slick, I think. I like the fact that they're doing something like this. What do you think?
I think it's good. In one of our next stories, we'll kind of cover one of the things that I think needs to happen for Facebook, which hopefully their analytics for Messenger will be accurate as well as other analytics. But yeah, any analytics are good, especially if you're marketing. You need to know what's working and what's not working.
Absolutely. And, people need to, I would say this, as a business, you need to be spending time every single month working on metrics. You need to be looking, you need to be pulling your metrics, and you need to be looking at them every single month. Don't just, say, oh, well, hey, my social shares went up. Like, who cares?
Right.
It's good to track all this stuff. Put it into a spreadsheet, for instance, and give yourself, maybe an hour of time, to set which KPIs that you want to be measuring every single month, and spend about an hour, probably about an hour every single month at the end of the month, and take down your notes, look up hey, how's my audience going? Do I have, was that you?
No, I don't, not that I know of.
No, that was very strange.
It was
on my, you know what? Maybe somebody joined Huzza. Let me see something. I'm not sure what that was.
Not unless it's happening in another window of mine. I'm not sure where that noise came from.
No worries, but I would say this: if you're doing any sort of metrics, you need to be measuring them every single month. You need to be looking at, not just like, hey, what's my audience? How's my audience doing? Am I growing? Am I adding new subscribers? But you also need to look at, the specific metrics for each channel. Like if I'm on YouTube, for instance, I want to be looking at views. Am I getting traffic? Am I getting people to watch my videos? If they are watching them, which ones are the ones getting the most traffic?
That's right.
You and I talk about this every single, we talk about this at least a couple times a month. Like, we're talking about like, hey, you know what? Hey, how's the traffic going with this? And we're looking at different trends, and we're noticing that certain articles, for instance, are sending certain amounts of traffic. Right. So what does it tell us? This says, hey, we don't need to be spending all of our time creating all this new content. We have some really good content that's really, say it accounts for like 70, 80% of your traffic. There's no sense in, let me put more content into the into the fire. Let me work with the ones that I have here. Yeah. And you're not going to know that unless you don't track this stuff every month.
That's right. And know which pieces of content are performing for you. And those are the kinds of content you probably want to spend some more time scheduling to promote and continue sharing, because it may be working for a reason. And if you start to, and it's the best way to start to see trends of what's working, right? Mm-hmm. Which pieces of content are working. And we do this with the website too. We have a really good idea of which articles by our experts are performing. Mm-hmm. And we will aim to have more articles of that type written and uploaded. And for example, one thing that I did recently, and this wasn't so much a trend of what was happening with current articles as a trend that's happening in society as a whole, but driverless cars and those types of things. Well, we have some robotics experts and traffic experts, and I said, you guys should start really writing on this topic, because it's a huge topic. It's only going to increase in visibility, and it's going to increase in liability as well. So you need to kind of be thinking about being the thought leaders in this area. Start that with pieces of content on those topics.
That's a great point there. Yeah, I mean, if you see something that is in your wheelhouse, basically, that you're really good at, and it's new and people haven't started talking about it really, that's a perfect time to capitalize on that.
That's right.
And speaking of this, so like this update for this week, we have the fact that Facebook has this free bots for Messenger analytics tool. And, what they're basically looking to do is, it says, for example, a messenger bot maker, so somebody who makes a bot will be able to see how many people opted to stop receiving messages from a messenger bot, break down the audience into segments according to their Facebook profiles, such as their age, their gender, their job title, their relationship status, household income, purchase behavior. It's not like we haven't heard that stuff before, right? Like that's all to the Facebook job piece that is being launched. That's also relevant for Facebook ads as well. But basically, they'll let you see which message was sent before the people decide to opt and to block the content.
That's right.
So
you may find out which piece of content or it is not working for you, especially if they had chosen to stop receiving right then and there. All right, which content didn't work for them.
Absolutely. And that's just, that in a sense reminds me of, for instance, like somebody's watching a YouTube video, make these videos. And let's say your video is, for instance, let's use this as an example. This video is 1 hour, about 45 minutes to 1 hour. And we can see, when we take these, we put them up on YouTube, we can see where somebody drops off. And if they drop off at the 30-minute mark and it's consistently happening, we know in our case, like, hey, we need to shorten these. For instance, it's the same thing though with with this messenger bot analytics tool. It lets you see at least where somebody is in the process when you're doing these bots.
That's right.
Keep that in mind and improve your content.
Yep.
Pretty straightforward.
Are you currently using, either for Social Chefs or in your current employment, are you using Facebook chatbots at all?
I have not gotten into using them yet. No.
Yeah, I have not either, but something I probably should look into.
I think part of it is that the bots really need to be more apparent, I think. And the other thing is I get a lot of notifications. I mean, I get notifications, you're getting notifications for Twitter, you're getting notifications for anytime somebody's mentioning you on Facebook. If you respond to something, you're getting notifications as well for that. You're getting text messages if you've opted in any text campaigns. And so it's a lot of information to really keep up with.
A lot of notifications.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's hard to, you have to like pry yourself away from a mobile device.
That's right.
Get work done, but then at the same time to still make it useful, So
interesting. Melissa has said she left Facebook Live and came over here to Huzza because Facebook Live kept freezing, but I haven't noticed that on desktop. I wonder if that's a mobile matter. I am watching it pretty closely on desktop, and I haven't seen freezing on that way. Yeah, Huzza is going to be the best because that's where we're actually broadcasting.
Yeah. So thanks for letting us know about that, Melissa.
We'll appreciate it.
What we can do about that. So that's topic one for the week, by the way. That's the messenger bot analytics tool. Let's jump into the second one real quick.
Yeah. So the next topic is an update on metrics and reporting. This is also from Facebook, and this comes on the heels of some pretty heavy criticism that they've received for not being able to track their metrics accurately. So they're updating their metrics to give their partners and industry more clarity and confidence about the insights they provide. So what they're going to have is some increased third-party verification from companies like Comscore, Moat, Nielsen, and Integral Ad Science. And they'll be building more measurement solutions with their clients. And they're calling that their Global Client Council, which is not something I've heard of before. Because I'm assuming that's customers or maybe influencers who are part of a client council. They've helped shape the direction of the products and how we approach measurement. Innovations such as conversion lift and mobile polling came out of direct conversations with our client council members. So they're working with client council, and they're going to have regular and clearer communications on their metrics. In product definitions, routinely done in the past, they'll continue to include updates in product where partners buy ads or access their reporting. When they make meaningful updates going forward, they'll continue surfacing them in product. They'll have client teams and a metrics FYI blog as well. So well, the interesting one here, of course, that you and I think is that I think you and I will find most interesting is their plan to partner here with Nielsen to track their Facebook Live viewership, essentially. For publishers, they're partnering with Nielsen to include Facebook video and Facebook Live viewership in Nielsen's digital content ratings. This will give publishers access to third-party verification for video metrics and allow for comparable digital and TV metrics in Nielsen's total audience measurement. This is big. Obviously, we're in live video both on Facebook Live and on Huzza right now. So this is one of those things that I think was a major benefit. And any third-party verification for metrics for a system the size of Facebook's, and given their current history of reporting inaccurate stats, I think this is important.
Definitely. And I think the one thing, you talked about Nielsen and how this is going to include Facebook video and Facebook Live viewership. That is, if I had to give a 2017 prediction, that is my prediction right there, is that we're going to start to see a much bigger push into television with social, I think. Yeah. I still, it's one of those things. I sort of don't really feel, I don't watch a lot of television, but I don't feel that the TV piece is kind of really taken off as much as it should have, like people having the whole second screen thing, for instance, that kind of didn't take off, I don't think. I
know that was scrapped and retried as something else.
Yeah, it kind of like, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, but like people, I think were, they weren't in tune to watching TV as much because, hey, I got my phone here and I'm getting interrupted by these notifications and stuff.
Yeah.
And so, I think that 2017 is going to be the year of definitely moving social into mainstream, into television, and then having all this Nielsen ratings as well, for instance, for Facebook Live. I think we're going to start to see a lot of that.
I think so. I we saw some of it with Twitter Live, NFL Thursday night football games. We've seen some of that. So I think you're right that will be, and with the big one of the things we saw this week that we didn't really touch on or that we're not touching on in the update this week is a lot. I'm assuming you've seen it too in areas like LA and New York, a lot of advertising for Facebook Live. Buses, billboards, all sorts of things. So I think they are pushing to standard TV.
Yeah, and this is, you kind of have, like, if Facebook is going to move, get Facebook Live into the Nielsen ratings, I mean, it kind of it suggests that that's got to happen, because why would they really be doing that if they, like, you need to have something, if you're, for instance, trying to pitch somebody on, hey, you know what, you should use Facebook Live or you should use television, you have to have these ratings to really show them that. Right. It's like anything, hey, like, let me sell this on my website. Well, you have to have analytics, you have to have metrics to be able to show somebody that.
Right. That's right. And this goes hand in hand with they've obviously been caught. I don't want to say they've been caught in a bad position having some inaccurate reporting of statistics with the major advertisers, and that has affected many of the big brands wanting to spend their money on Facebook. So they really do need this third-party verification.
Definitely. And I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. I mean, 2017, we know that this actually will get to the next topic, I guess, right? Because we're going to do the AI thing later on, right?
Yeah. Let's we'll just do that you want to do that as a discussion piece after our big news?
Yeah. So, so predictions for 2017, TV is definitely going to start to take more of a back seat. That's because live video is going to be the way that everything is moving. Yeah. And what are your predictions, by the way, for 2017?
I think live video is I feel like, in a way, it's almost not even a prediction now. We're seeing it because we're in it regularly, but I feel like that is a fairly safe prediction. I think our discussion topic is one of the other big things that we'll see more and more of in 2017.
So what is the topic, by the way? What is this big thing?
Yeah, it'll be the use of, we're using the use of AI in social media, or artificial intelligence in social media, but I think you're going to be seeing a lot more artificial intelligence being used in 2017 at more of a commercial use of it than we're currently seeing.
Definitely. So we'll talk more on that one in a second, right? Or are we gonna pop over to Instagram, or are we doing?
Yeah, let's do Instagram first, because I think it's a combined live video, artificial intelligence kind of. That's what we'll see in 2017. Now I'm hoping I get some of these predictions right.
So topic number 3, by the way, for the week, and this is why we said, this was a big topic. Is that Instagram has announced Instagram live video.
That's right.
And it's live video on Instagram stories, and they're adding disappearing photos and videos for groups and friends in Instagram Direct. Huge news. I mean, you and I both knew this was happening.
Yeah, and it'll probably. Do we say that? Do you agree with me that this is just further evidence of the integration with Facebook, the full integration of Instagram and Facebook?
I will say this. I think that it is further evidence of that integration. I'm sort of trying to figure out, though, how people are going to really do both of those at once. Because one thing I'm noticing, for instance, like we're on a laptop right now, for instance, and I noticed, for instance, we're just doing like Huzza to Facebook, and I'm seeing a lot of fairly delayed connections here.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to factor in a mobile device. Well, typically what's happened, people are inside of their house, or they're at the library, they're at an office or whatever. You don't have a very strong connection with your cell signal. So what are you going to do? You're going to hop on your Wi-Fi network, and your Wi-Fi network, it's already struggling with one connection. I think it's going to struggle with 2. That's the part where I'm trying to really kind of see how they're going to work together. But I love the idea of Instagram having live video.
I do too, and I think to keep it business focused, if your audience is on Instagram, definitely spend your time on live video on Instagram. If your audience is on Facebook, then spend your time on Facebook Live. I think that's what I would end up taking away from this, is go wherever your audience is, because you simply can't be everywhere.
Absolutely. And what's really cool about the Instagram Live feature basically is, very simple. You're in your feed on Instagram, and if you swipe right from the feed, it'll open the camera and give you the ability to start a live video. So it's super slick to be able to do that. Have you played around with it yet?
No, I have not played around with it yet. I've been playing around with the Instagram stories a little bit this week, but I have not played around with the live video yet.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I mean, you basically you swipe, and then so basically go from left to right. It's really cool. You can you can get into saving shared photos. I mean, there's a lot of Snapchat to this. You can tie in Boomerang as well. It's very, 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 very useful, I think.
Yeah. I think this is just more evidence. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing billboards and bus advertisements for Instagram Live. Or live video.
Yeah, I like I'm really honestly still trying to figure out the whole convergence of all of these.
I agree.
You've got Instagram, you've got Instagram doing this, you got Facebook doing this, Twitter, you've got Messenger, being able to do some video calling with that. You've got Facebook pages. How is all this going to sync up?
It's a great question.
Like, they're all doing the same thing now.
Yes, it certainly feels that way. Yeah, it more than feels that way. They are all doing the same thing. They're all vying for the attention of the consumer, I think.
Mm-hmm. And everybody is, I think, all in on Facebook / Instagram / Messenger, and then WhatsApp is there, but I don't think is not being used as much. I think
not being used as much here in the U.S. I think is they very outside of the U.S. I know that WhatsApp is huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I love the idea of all of this happening. I find it funny that Facebook couldn't get Snapchat, And so they basically built an entire clone, and it's pretty darn awesome. I mean, they've been able to do this just that quickly, you know?
It is. Also interesting that Snapchat is on its way to an IPO, and not seeming to slow down at any rate with Facebook's attempts here to clone it. So very interesting that Snapchat is just going full steam ahead. And they have rebranded themselves, as we were discussing earlier today, as a camera company.
Absolutely. And, you know, the more that Nick and I were talking earlier about the whole spectacles thing that Instagram or Snapchat launched. I think that's the one thing that Snapchat has going for it. Facebook could copy all the pieces it wants, but it has this camera device. And I think the spectacles are really slick. I'm surprised that, you know, Facebook or Instagram had not come out with something like that yet.
Yeah, I agree.
Just because I think that it has in my opinion, I think it has a really good place, just, you know, in a user's toolbox.
It does. Yeah, it's certainly in a creator's toolbox. Some of what I've been seeing, and probably some of what you've been seeing through the Snapchat spectacles, is really engaging content. So I have to add that the release of it has really been brilliant.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah.
You stoke the, rather than putting it on sale online where everybody can get it, they're letting it out there a little at a time, and really making everybody jealous that they don't have a pair. And I think that's brilliant.
Yeah. And the thing that's great about this whole aspect of, like, you know, the spectacles is that they're being released in very small batches in very remote locations. You know, they were just a couple of places in California. They were released in the Grand Canyon. I think it was like another national park, and then they just did them at a pop-up store, pop-up shop in New York,
right?
Like yesterday. So I think that's I think it's brilliant also, because at the same time it makes people, you know, go crazy for these things, but it also makes people have to stay connected with their social channels.
That's right.
They have a very specific way they're doing it, and I think it's perfect. By the way, I see here in the chat we've got a couple people, Melissa, saying, "Hey, you know what? It's almost too much. People get sick of that when talking about, like, just too much live video, for instance." All right, so I think, was she referring to live video, or was she referring to, like, the Wi-Fi side of it?
She was really referring, I think, to all the different options that a consumer or user has. Are you going to be on it? In the last week, I've communicated with Melissa through Instagram, through Messenger, and through Huzza, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Melissa, but I feel like your comment is about, you know, it's so overwhelming that they have that a user has so many options to choose from, and I think that's absolutely right. And all these companies seem to be vying for the same attention.
And it's this little sliver of attention. I mean, I think in a way, if somebody is not very decisive, you know, in being able to, like, you know, take that one path and accept the fact that, oh, I've also, you know, I can't spend all my time on Facebook and Snapchat and Instagram and Twitter and still get things done. If people have a hard time making that decision, that, you know, this is going to get to be a problem, I think, in the future.
Yeah, you'll have to. I probably spend the least amount of my time on Facebook and Instagram, as far as where I'm actually posting content. You know, those are probably where I post the least amount of content.
So yeah, but I mean, so overall, I mean, that's this is big news. I mean, you know, with Instagram coming out with this feature, I don't really know what's next, I guess. I mean, or maybe what's next, I guess, with this is, you know, masks. I think we've talked about this, having those in live video. We know they're also going to probably make their way to Instagram. I still, if you can think of any ways to like differentiate the two, I still want to, I want to talk more about
it'll be interesting now if Snapchat will release their own version of live video as well. That'll be interesting. Are they going to go really one for one? Every time you do something, I do something. But Snapchat has also seemed to be much more innovative than Facebook. And Facebook's been playing catch up in a lot of these areas. And when I say Facebook, I also include Instagram in that. Luckily, they're a massive company with a ton of money, and they can play catch up real fast. So
I would say definitely real fast.
yeah, so we'll see where it goes. But should we move on to our? Do we have tools first?
We can do tools or we can do AI. We can do either one.
Let's do tools, and we'll wrap up with AI.
Perfect. Okay, so I did switch up one of the tools that we had for today, but let's talk about some tools. So let's stick with the Instagram theme. So tool number 1 is called Prime for Instagram. And by the way, if you want to take any of these links and drop them over on Facebook, feel free to.
I'm going
Basically, what Prime for Instagram is it's a tool for your mobile device, specifically iOS, that helps you figure out the best time to post on Instagram. They basically, want you to give some thought when you post a photo.
Okay.
What basically
didn't we talk about a scheduling app just last week for Instagram? Was there?
We talked about an all-in-one tool.
Okay. All right.
Now, what makes this tool different from the other one is that the other one was an all-in-one tool. It basically would let you, you could create, I think, collages. You could do captions. You could schedule out your content, had all that sort of stuff. But here's the thing with a scheduler. So a scheduler just says, hey, here's a calendar, pick a date, pick a time. Now, what this does is it calculates your best time to post for each day of the week and then each time of the day.
Okay.
And then you can still schedule future posts and view the success of your past ones.
All right.
That's essentially what it does.
Okay.
It's a free tool. It was last updated in June. It's been a few months. But a lot of these tools, they're like that. They don't always update immediately.
Right.
But that's tool number 1 for today.
Tool 2 is Publish.
Tool number 2, yeah. Tool number 2 is the tool called Publish. Publish on Twitter and Instagram, and this is also a one. This is sort of it's a freemium tool, but basically what this tool does that makes it unique for businesses is you can use this to basically publish to Twitter and Instagram.
Okay.
So let me get a link up here for everybody.
So it's also a scheduling tool?
Sort of a scheduling tool, yeah. So basically what you can do with this is you can go in there. It's almost like having like Hootsuite in a way.
Okay.
You go in to make a post, decide if you want to post it to Twitter and Instagram. And then you can also post from multiple accounts, which is kind of cool. So if you have multiple accounts in your setup, you could post to multiple accounts at one point. And then you just swipe up whenever you want to post and then decide when you want to post that item. Okay. Now, what's kind of neat about this, though, is you could almost combine these two tools. You could combine Publish with Preview. You could use Preview to give you some data to help you decide when you should be posting.
Okay. All right.
So those are 2 tools that I'd recommend checking out.
Excellent.
Now, the third one, I did switch this one up. I switched this one up because I wanted to talk about, we've got Black Friday coming up. What is it, next week, Cyber Monday or something like that. Yep. And I want to talk about this tool just because it's a tool I personally use on the Social Chef site. It's called OptinMonster. And I've been using this for a very long time. It basically is a way for you as a business to capture new leads, to add people to your email list, to grow your subscriber base in a lot of different ways on your website.
So how does it work?
So basically it's basically an opt-in form.
Okay.
Now but the thing is there's lots of different types of forms that you can add. So for example, for their basic plan, and the reason I'm mentioning this also is this is it's a paid tool, but it's 35% off if you use the code BF 2016.
Okay.
I'll put that in here as well. So Basically, what it is
BF 2016.
Yes, BF 2016. And it starts at $9 a month when you pay annually. By the way, you get 25% off for doing annually, and then you can also do this 35% off. So you can essentially save a good amount of money. But basically, there's a $9 plan per month. That's the basic plan. It goes all the way up to $29 a month. Both of those are obviously paid annually. But here's what you get. So if you go with the $9 a month plan, this basically lets you add unlimited opt-in forms to your website, do A/B split testing, page level targeting. So for example, if you only want and this is what I really like about this, instead of having your opt-in form like show up every time somebody's on your site, you can have certain forms triggered depending on what somebody is looking at.
Okay. All right.
That's one thing, for instance, for me, that's really valuable.
That is valuable. So it's not just the same form every time.
Exactly.
Showing different interest levels based on what they're looking at.
Absolutely. So I'll give you a little insight into the Social Chefs website. So if somebody were to go to Social Chefs and you were looking at, say, an Instagram post, you would get an opt-in for something Instagram related. But if you were over there reading something that was Facebook related, you would get a Facebook opt-in.
Okay.
So that way I can target, and here's the thing, I can target for instance, like if somebody, or let's use Instagram and Snapchat as an example. Let's say somebody's reading an Instagram post. Do they necessarily care about Snapchat? Probably not, because they're wanting to, learn about Instagram, right?
Right.
And vice versa. If somebody's reading Snapchat, they might not be interested in learning more about Instagram. Snapchat might be their bag, right?
Right.
And so this way I'm able to target people, providing them with, an opt-in that is relevant to what it is they're looking at.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool.
So that's the $9 a month plan, but you can also go up a couple of other levels. One is they give you like a floating bar option, sidebar forms. There's something called after post and inline forms. So you can add that as well. And all this does is basically overlay the pop-up or the form that you want on your site, and then it hooks into your email marketing service, such as an Aweber or ConvertKit or a MailChimp.
Okay.
And then now this is where it's actually really cool. So if you go up to their $29 a month plan, they have, they obviously change how many sites you can use, but I also like the fact that you can do campaign scheduling. You can do full screen takeovers. There's smart canvas forms that basically they're there based on the fact that somebody might have already visited a page. You don't want to show them a form again. There's also ones that are just specific for mobile devices. And there's also an exit intent technology, which is really cool. So that basically is if somebody's reading your article and they're ready to go close the page, you can show them a specific pop-up or form to bring them back onto the site. So It could be something, hey, like, I know you're leaving. Here's one last, could be, let me give them one last pitch. Let me give them one last offer to, for instance, sign up for my newsletter or join my community or something.
Yeah.
So that's
a good tool. That's a good tool.
And it's well worth it. I'm a guy that makes a fantastic guy.
Yeah. Excellent. All right.
So let's jump into some AI. So
yeah.
What is this article we got? What do we got?
So the article we have is out of VentureBeat. And do you have a social chef's code for this article? If so, I'll post that over on the Facebook feed. Otherwise,
I just have the regular AI one, actually.
The VentureBeat one? Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if you had a link back to Social Chef's website. So this is what we found out recently, an interest to both Christian and I is artificial intelligence and its use. I think we have both a general interest in it. And this article just happened to be specific to social media. So the article starts like this. So this is some pretty interesting data here. Everyone's on social media, according to Pew Research in 2015. An astounding 65% of all Americans were using social media. That's more than 200 million people in the USA alone. Approximately the same amount as the number of people in America who own pets. Worldwide, the total on social media already exceeds 2 billion people. That's twice as many people worldwide as the number who own a car. So 2 billion on social media, only 1 billion worldwide own a car. So those are just some stats to kind of get you settled. So basically what this article is about is the social media workloads have passed a breaking point. You're in it, I do it as part of what I do, and we both know that it is a time-consuming venture that takes a lot of effort. And so what this article is saying, through language understanding, big data, you're going to have some performance advantages of AI. What they're saying is, because what many in social media and in commerce have done is you've turned to automation, but automation causes a lot of problems, doesn't it? Because you can't just automate every interaction, or that frustrates the customer. So what AI is doing in social media is being used to find and prioritize the most important interactions so that social media managers can spend their limited time more effectively. So this becomes like where AI is more like a spam filter for social media. An intelligent agent can tell you who to respond to and who to ignore, can tell you which posts are coming from real people and which posts are coming from bots. Now that's important to know, because I'm quite positive that through Twitter I've had to respond and later realize that it's bots. Now sometimes you can figure out real early on that it's not something you need to respond to, but if it is a person, you would want to know, because that's a potential new customer, a potential somebody you can potentially convert into being a customer or an advocate for your brand. So this is about prioritizing the interactions, and that way the social media manager is actually interacting with the most important contacts, the most important interactions. And what this article says is AI going to take my job? And it's no, because what AI can't do is it can't have the human to human interaction that a person can. It can't make that. What's that?
It can't think. I mean, it can, it can think to a certain degree, but it can't go in depth. It can't understand sentiment that much.
That's right. So essentially, use the AI to better prioritize interactions. Use it like a spam filter, the way your spam filter already eliminates the bot emails, and make it an essential tool to your social media, so that you can eliminate the unnecessary interactions or ignore them and move on to the more important interactions that may actually be a customer or somebody that you can later convert.
And I think that's a brilliant example. I mean, of this. I mean, not just like using it. I mean, because if you really think about it, what is the one thing we always talk about? We always say, hey, don't automate your social media, right? But people do it because they're like, hey, I don't have the time.
That's right.
And then you have the AI side of it, which is like, hey, let me help you filter some of this out. It's like, with email, for instance, I have a lot of different filters set up to do things, whether it's to like save, for instance, something so simple as like, hey, anytime I get a new subscriber, to my daily email, for instance, send me a notification, like send me an email, for instance, of that. And then when that comes in, I don't have to like let it all pile up and then say, okay, let me sort through the pile.
Right.
I'm using, in this case, filters to say, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and move that automatically. It's the same way though with AI. I mean, AI is there to be able to say, hey, let's reduce that pile for you so that it is manageable in a certain way.
That's
and then
right.
Let's add some additional little filters, some perspective to it, and say, hey, you know what? Out of this big pile, we've gotten rid of some of the stuff for you, and we've also highlighted the ones that we think would be of interest to you. This way, you can do your job better.
You may want to respond to these first, because either it's a more urgent matter, it's a crisis that's waiting to happen or is happening. So you may want to respond to these first, or based on the interaction from this person, they may be interested in a subscription, or they may be interested in purchasing or something like that, rather than taking all interactions as equal, because they're not.
Absolutely. And I'll give you a really good example of this. One thing I do, for instance, I get a lot of people that come to me and they ask me questions on things. And sometimes if it's, like, oh, hey, I'd really like to write for your site. And, and there's a certain amount of time that goes into that, versus somebody saying, hey, I signed up for, a course you offer and I'm having trouble logging in. Well, in that case, I want to make sure I put the importance on the person who's already signed up for something.
Right.
While I love to have somebody write for the site, there's multiple interactions or multiple transactions basically that have to take place before you can turn around and, convert that person into a customer or a future lead,
That's right.
And a lot of people, they tend to treat all this stuff as equal. They take it at face value. They basically say, okay, let me take the top item off the sheet. And I'm going to work on that. Let me take the next one and the next one and the next one.
Yeah.
So
this is exciting to me because artificial intelligence, we cover it. Bye, Melissa. Thank you for coming again. We appreciate your support. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Artificial intelligence I've covered in great depth or not in great depth yet, but we've covered it in some depth on my Legal Tech Live show because it is affecting the legal industry, significant disruption over on in the legal side, from contract review to responding to potential crime victims, and as far as identifying potential liabilities in an enterprise. So artificial intelligence, this kind of goes full circle to our predictions earlier, I think is going to have a massive impact in 2017.
Absolutely. I think, and I guess in a way, if you look at the way things are kind of going as well, you know how this goes. If you look at the way everything has been trending this year, I know we still have a few weeks left in the year, but everything is moving towards now we're into chatbots, for instance. It's a form of automation and people are kind of like trying to really wrap their head around how this works. How useful is this to me? What does this do? Is this something else I have to keep up with?
That's right.
But when you spin it like you've done here, all these things have a purpose and they're not all there to take your time, for instance. They're there to help you.
Some are there to give you more time. So you're spending time on the more important issues.
And you also kind of have to look at some of this stuff. So for example, let's give you a real world personal example, and then let's talk about, a little bit about business here. Okay. So for example, I might use a chat. Let's use chatbots because that's in a way AI in a way.
It is. Yeah.
Okay. So if I want, let's just, the typical thing, let's say I want to go get the weather, for instance, or I want to get the traffic. What's the old way? The old way is let me go to the web, let me put in my address, or let me put in my zip code at least, and then let me get a rough idea of what the forecast is going to be. The new way though of doing that is let me use a chatbot. Let me go, let me give it access to my location, for instance, tie it into, for instance, maybe if you've got Siri on your Mac, or some of the other, was it Cortana or something like that? Some of the other devices, or Alexa for Amazon, tie it into some of those. And all you have to do is say, hey, you know what? What's the weather? And you don't have to think, you don't have to because you're already thinking I know what I want to find. I want the weather in my location. Well, that's right. Information for me. So that right there is going to save you some time. So that's going to save you a lot of time, because you don't have to go to the website. You don't have to go type it in. You don't have to look anything up. It can tell you exactly what it is based on where you're at. So that's going to save you some time there. I also, for instance, I use a tool called IFTTT.
I've heard about it. I've never incorporated it, but tell us about it.
I use that, for instance, for weather, actually. So when the weather is going to be a certain temperature, I have it send me an email, for instance, or a notification. Okay. So I don't have to, I've cut that out. But you can use it for all sorts of stuff. So let's talk about AI let's talk about it from a business perspective. How does somebody go get, we talked about this earlier, notifications. People get notifications on new Facebook posts, new Instagram posts. They get all this stuff on their mobile device. And what happens? It could be just somebody saying, yes, thank you, a smiley face emoji. It doesn't really matter, right? Something that really is not, it's important, but not, wow, that should, that needs to divert me from putting together this report or working on, this blog post or something, right? So what you can do now is imagine having it where it could filter out, all of this stuff. I don't want to say it's junk, but all the senseless stuff, and say, hey, you know what? this was like this person wrote 5 sentences versus somebody gave you a 1-word response.
That's right.
Which one do I shouldn't have to like stop what I'm doing, go open it to only then learn what it is.
That's right.
And then be able to rank it. Let's do it the opposite way, which is like, hey, you learn my preferences, you learn how I do things, and then you adjust the system to meet my needs.
Yep.
You're freeing tons of time up at that point.
A lot of time, and in social media you need that time so that you're not just responding to everything that comes in. So I like this. I think artificial intelligence I'm hopeful about it. I'm very hopeful about what it can do for social media and many other areas of our lives.
And by the way, I love one of the headlines that's in this article. It says, my computer just froze, but it says AI is like a spam filter for social media.
Yeah.
Perfectly sums everything up. I mean,
that's it.
It just makes so much sense.
It does. Yeah. It's brilliant. I mean, you already have a spam filter in your email. Why wouldn't you have one for social media accounts too?
Absolutely. In the way you sort of can, like if you got like Gmail, you could say filter certain things. But that filtering, for instance, could be something as simple as, for instance, in Gmail, maybe you want to set up labels that say, Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, Instagram, and turn your notifications on. And instead of having all those things come into your inbox, and all of a sudden your inbox went to inbox 0 to like inbox like 1 billion or whatever,
right.
Messages. Have all your messages come in, and then have them literally sorted into Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, and so forth. And then you now can easily look and say, hey, I've only got, I don't have to, for instance, spend my time going to Twitter to see that I don't have any new, people that like any content, right?
Right.
Instead, I could see, oh, well, hey, Twitter has, the smallest amount. Facebook has like, wow, I got like 500 responses there. And Instagram, I only have like 100 or something like that. Like I can then, know, well, what direction do I need to, put my effort into?
That's right. And that's what, and if you're a small or medium business and you're doing a lot of this yourself, you really need to know, where do I put my effort?
That's a great point. I mean, it goes back to, picking social media channels to spend time on, answering and responding to notifications or responses that come in. I mean, you have to know where your customers are at. Don't just jump on a network just because
it's the hot new thing.
I'm glad you want to experiment. And what I would recommend doing is this. I would say, hey, let me do, 70% of my time on this network, and I'll put, 1 to 2% on another one to test something out. But
right.
See which one gets you some traction.
Right.
So,
and there's never best way to find out if there's going to be any traction. You should be an early adopter to the new networks. Get on there early enough and see if you can get any traction with the people. Then as the people that flood in that you do know start following you over there, if it's innovative enough and you can be creative enough on that, then it may be worth sticking around there. But try to be early on these, I think, is important.
So, and I'll kind of give you an example. Like one thing I'm testing out, working on is I'm going to be launching a podcast soon. And I'm not going, full-fledged into a podcast. What I'm planning to do is just have, a few episodes to kind of get things started, see what kind of response we get, and then decide if that's something that I want to continue. So, it's something that, I'll probably be calling on you, Nick, on actually to give me some feedback. So,
okay. Happy to.
Kelly, thanks a lot for joining tonight. So you'll be using Quick Wins by Staples. Can you tell me about
it? Yeah, tell us about it, Kelly. I don't know anything about Quick Wins by Staples.
Is this a book? Is this... Let's see.
Is it a tool?
It's an app. Okay. Let me see.
Maybe it's something we should put on for next week's show.
We just might. Let me see what this is. So you can track your metrics to help you grow, receive customized ideas to improve your metrics. I actually have never heard of this. I know of pretty much every app, but I've never heard of this. For anything you give them the password to, basically.
Oh, okay. So anything you're willing to give them access to, they track. Interesting. We should do some more research and cover it.
Yeah, I think we'll drop this into our conversation for next week, because this seems very useful as far as what you get. So I will have to take a look at this, and we'll chat about this one, Nick.
Yeah, let's do that. Thank you for the input, Kelly. Appreciate it.
Definitely. So with that, I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else?
No, I think that's it. I think that wraps the show.
Okay. Let me just put a couple of links. Couple of links in here for everybody. So if you want to subscribe to next week's show, it's going to be what I think are we on Thursday next week?
Yeah, we are next week. Next Thursday is we are.
December 7th. Whoa, we're already in December. Wow.
Wait, no, that's not December. It's like December 1 next week, I think.
I'm sorry, December. Oh, sorry, 1. Yeah, sorry. So December 1, next Thursday at 9 p.m. So we're going back to the old schedule.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, if anybody wants to get on the list to get notified when we have new content, very simple. Just go to socialchefs.com/subscribe. And that will get you on the daily email that I send out. Basically, you'll also get a link to tell you about what's coming up, and I'll also give you a link to this week's recording and the blog post that we publish.
Excellent.
So I'm gonna make sure I jot down this quick wins app real quick. But do you have any parting thoughts for everyone?
No, just wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and the same to you as well.
Definitely, I'm sure you and I'll be talking a fair amount. I think you'll be around a fair amount.
Yeah, I'll be around. It's just 2 weeks from now that we will have I think a Tuesday show again, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So in a couple of weeks. So we'll make sure everybody knows about that, though. And again, we try to be as flexible as possible with everyone, and get you the information you need, but also try to make it convenient, because I know sometimes doing a 9 o'clock show for some people doesn't work, but everything is always available as a replay as well. So
that's true. All right,
I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, an early Thanksgiving. Spend time with your family, go relax, I would say, definitely. And I like the article you brought tonight, Nick, the artificial intelligence one. That was really good.
I think it helps that we both seem to have a little bit of a passion for it. We're both real interested in it. So I figured it was kind of maybe it would be kind of a fun holiday kind of show to do more of a discussion topic.
Yeah. And, maybe what we could do is we could even talk about that and see if there are any articles or whatever we could write on how somebody could incorporate this into their business.
And I think we'll need to look since we've now kind of, or at least I've made some prognostications about AI, which I don't think is that much, I don't think that's that far off, but it may be worth seeing. That VentureBeat article didn't mention which tools one might incorporate in their social media to manage these things. So I think those will be some interesting tools to see in the in the next next few episodes, maybe.
And in a way, it's almost like there are a lot of email automation or marketing automation tools, and I say email automation because there's a lot of those as well.
Right.
So this essentially is another layer. It's email
layer,
marketing automation, social media marketing automation.
So will they be the ones who are offering this, or are we going to see new companies popping up with more of an AI tilt to them?
I think it's very interesting, because I think all of these are kind of piggybacking on one another, and no one's really doing anything perfect. I mean,
that's
the email automation and marketing automation, I mean, they're they still require a fair amount of time to put into them to get anything out of them. That's true. There's a very fairly complicated setup on most of them. Yeah, so they are very. We've reviewed a few of them. We use one, and we were reviewing another one. They're not simple. You have to spend some time with them. Yeah, I mean, it's all about working out process and workflow. I mean,
Yeah.
but
All right.
we'll talk. This is a good topic.
Yeah, it is. It is. I thought you might enjoy that one. That's why I sent it your way.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate that.
My pleasure. All right. Have a good Thanksgiving, and I'll talk to you guys. I'll see you next week.
You too. Thanks. Bye.
All right. Bye.